All right, hey everyone, I'm going to make a quick video about presidential powers and the executive powers. All right, let's go. The most important one that you need to know is executive orders. They're like laws, they're directions straight from the president. They are not an act of Congress, and so they can be undone by like the next president, or if the Supreme Court is challenged in the courts, or Congress itself can overdo these things. Um, yeah. So we have a list showing of like all the presidents and their executive orders. Here's where Obama is. Trump's coming in about right here at the moment in his first four years. So we'll see where that's at the end of his term. Some presidents that gave a lot of executive orders are Lincoln, FDR, Truman. Things like with FDR, you have the New Deal, which like pulls the United States out of the Great Depression, but you also have like some really horrible things like Japanese internment camps, where Japanese citizens all over the United States were rounded up and put into concentration camps. That sounds eerily familiar to what happened in Nazi Germany. You'd be right, and you have every reason to be concerned. Abraham Lincoln, you had his famous Emancipation Proclamation, where he freed slaves being held in Northern Territory that had succeeded. President Truman desegregated the army this way. So these powers are massive and far-reaching. Yeah. They have the power to appoint people. So all of like our diplomats, our ambassadors to other countries, the people that represent us abroad are all appointed by the president. The president also appoints people like federal judges. He appoints people to the Supreme Court. He appoints his own cabinet, so like the Secretary of State or the Secretary of Energy, people that run these major government agencies are all appointed by the president. Now, a check on the president is that they have to be confirmed by the Senate or the House, depending. Yep. The Congress does not have to confirm these people, and they often don't. It's just a check on the president's power of nominating people. Usually a president's nomination is selected, but they don't have to be. We'll move on. The president is considered the chief diplomat. It's not something in the Constitution, but since they're like the sole leader, they're like considered to be like the face of America. They represent us to the other nations. They don't have to always make treaties. They can make what's called executive agreements. We're not going to worry too much about those. Just know that they exist. They can recognize people. They can give awards, recognize people for their work and service. They can recognize other countries if there's been a civil war. Big power is commander-in-chief. They have full command of the United States military. Make a point, we have the biggest military in the world. This is an insane amount of power. The only major limit here is that they cannot declare war on their own. However, they can use the military for 60 days without getting the approval of Congress. It's the War Powers Resolution. We'll talk more about that. They have the power to suggest legislation. So like what the president wants done, they can suggest that it get done to Congress. Part of their negotiating arm there is that they can veto things that they don't agree with. So they can be like, hey, I would really like to see something like X. And Congress would go, oh, well, he won't veto this. Let's push this on through. The president has the power to veto. Simply means when Congress passes a law, the president is the last person to sign off on it. He can either sign it into law or veto it, and it's not a law. It goes back to Congress. They can try again. He can give pardons, which is like he can forgive people who are in prison. He can say, oh, you know what? It wasn't so bad. You can get out now. You're free. One famous example is like when Richard Nixon was in all his trouble for Watergate, and he was, I am not a crook. Well, he was in fact charged. He was going to be sentenced to jail. Gerald Ford became the new president, and he pardoned Nixon. He said it was necessary to heal. Yeah. All right. Those are just some presidential powers, things that you can think about as we go through this module. Hope it helps.